You know, honey, we here at the Dave Konig Show, as you know, honey, we're very proud of all our children.
Absolutely.
We have many children, entirely too many actually. We have too many kids. No, it's a lot of kids. It's a lot of kids. We have 4 kids, and you know the problem with having 4 kids, honey, and you know this, is that you're outnumbered, and sooner or later they figure it out. I remember one time I went up to our younger son when he was about 6 or 7 years old. I said, get in there and clean up your room. You know what he said to me? He said, there's 4 of us, there's 2 of you. Why don't you get in there and clean up my room? As long as we're talking, let's talk about my allowance, shall we? That's a nice Ford minivan you and Mommy are driving. Be a shame if something would have happened to it. You know what I'm saying? Our kid.
I remember that.
Remember when our kid said that to me? And of course, we're proud of our 2 goddaughters as well.
Yes.
So we have a lot to be proud of. But today we're gonna single one out. Here's what we're gonna do. We don't play favorites here at the Dave Konig Show, but gold star on the refrigerator today for our oldest boy, Joey. So I'm sitting at home. You know what I'm doing today?
What?
I'm sitting at home because we're quarantined,
Well, yeah.
and I'm minding my own business, and I'm watching the Andrew Cuomo show. Have you seen that show?
Oh, it's great. I watch it every day.
You watch it every day. The big hit show, the Governor Cuomo show. Boy, that guy's got it. This is why we wait till 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to do our show. I don't want to go up against him in the ratings.
No way.
You know, got a big hit show. Maybe in the summer when they have the summer replacement show, you know, they bring in Mac Davis or someone for the summer replacement. Then I'll go up against those ratings. But Mac Davis, sure, why not? But here, so we're watching the Governor Cuomo show, the big hit show, and I'm lying on the couch, and and suddenly I go, hey, wait a minute, look at that! And you know what it was? It was our son Joey right there. On the he was guest starring on the Governor Cuomo show.
That's right.
Our son Joey, of course, is a reporter for the New York Post, the finest publication in America, and Joey was covering the governor's briefing. And they got him right there on the front lines of history. So we're very proud of him.
That's right.
He's doing great. So he's out there. He's covering the story. He's bringing the news to the people, which in this time, of course, more important than ever to get good reporting, bring the facts to the people. So I think Joey is doing great stuff.
Right there on the front line.
Not quite as great as his old man, who is doing a few minutes of silly comedy every day on Facebook.
Wow.
So, all things considered, I think, frankly, I'm the true hero here.
Oh, yeah.
But nonetheless, you know what that means, honey?
It's time.
Yes, it's time for the Dave Konig Show on Facebook Live with my co-host, seated a safe 6-foot social distance away from me, the lovely bride of Konig, Susan Konig.
Hi, everybody.
That's Susan's catchphrase, hi, everybody. And if you go on Susan's Facebook page, you can get some hi, everybody, Susan Konig materials like this lovely coffee mug. Because I'm told that on the iPhone, for some reason, this is mirror image, so you probably can't even read that. But it's Susan's own coffee mug. It says, Susan Konig says, hi, everybody. That's her catchphrase.
Wow. Where did you get that?
If you go, well, I got it on your Facebook page. If you go to Susan's Facebook page and Venmo her, you can get an official hi, everybody coffee mug, only $900. And, you know, I asked Susan, because she's sitting right here, I asked her, I said, honey, $900 for a crappy coffee mug like that, it seems overpriced. And she said, yeah, but if I could just sell one. So that's,
I don't
she said that. She's going to get, you're going to go on Shark Tank with this. Hi, Sharks. So, we're very excited today also to announce for the first time in the show, this is new, we've been doing this every day. This is the official comedy show of the global pandemic, by the way. And we've been doing this every day since the thing started. You know.
Yeah.
So this is our 11th show. We're starting our 3rd week on the air.
Oh, my gosh.
And I thought this was going to be our last week on the air. I figured I'd do this for a couple of weeks and then go on with the rest of my life. But apparently I was wrong. So I made the commitment to do this every night during the pandemic. We have an exciting new part of the show today.
Yeah.
We're introducing, where the hell is it?
I can't wait to see what it is.
I really should do a better job assembling my props. We're gonna introduce a new studio audience. We have a studio audience now on the show. Introducing our studio audience for the day, creepy sea captain guy, and he's going to be sitting right here watching the show. Right now he's watching all the comments here. He's watching Susan Winkler and Warren Tesaro.
Gail Dennison is here.
Irma Zandler. Danielle Dirk.
He can't read.
He can't read. English is not his first language. He's been out at sea for a long time. Of course, we'll have, as always, an appearance by the Dave Konig dancers today.
Oh, really?
That's very exciting. But I was talking to them earlier. I was talking to the dance captain. I think her name is Gladys.
Right.
And she asked me, she said, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have everyone in the studio, in the viewing public, she's going to put out the Venmo and PayPal addresses of all the dancers in the Dave Konig dancers, because she wants the audience to virtually tip all the dancers for their performance on the show today. And I said to her, well, that seems unusual to me. She said, well, as entertainers, we are entertainers.
Sure.
And these are troubled times. We would like the audience watching to directly Venmo and PayPal us money to perform.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, but they're all out of work out there in the audience.
That's right.
And their hours are getting, everyone's struggling, so why should they give you money? I don't understand. Maybe their money's better spent paying their own bills in these troubled times. And Gladys, the dance captain of the Dave Konig dancers, called me a fascist. She said I was a fascist.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the dancers should send our viewers some money.
Yeah, so that's what I said. I said, Gladys, maybe the dancers should Venmo our viewers $12 each. So anyway, we're still working that issue out. The Not Ready for Dave Konig players will be here, and tonight they're going to try and add a little culture, because Kevin, he's the young guy in the group who thinks he's going to be the big breakout star. He's written a musical.
Yeah.
He wants to perform it on the show tonight. It's a one-man Shakespeare musical. It's a one-man musical production of Othello.
Yeah?
It's called Othello. Oh, exclamation point, Thello, exclamation point. A joke that's at best mild, even if you could read it in print, where it belongs. It's kind of a visual. So Kevin will be here with that. And then finally, a big celebrity guest on the show tonight, our big celebrity guest, James Coco Chanel Jr., the illegitimate son of a beloved character actor James Coco and Nazi dress designer Coco Chanel.
Wow.
So I didn't even know they were dating, but apparently at some point they got together and they had an illegitimate kid.
There. My goodness.
James Coco. I was almost on a TV show with James Coco when I was a kid.
Yeah.
When I was a young, obnoxious child actor, I came dangerously close, which means I didn't get it. If an actor says I came really close, there's either you get it or you don't. There's no such thing as getting close. There's no prizes for second place when you audition. First place, you got a TV show. Second place, you don't. It was a CBS sitcom called Joe and Sons, starring James Coco. It's short-lived.
Yeah.
And I came dangerously close to being Ann's Sons on the show. And Coco Chanel had a TV show at some point. I think she was on. Yeah, she was on Hogan's Heroes. She was banging Colonel Klink.
Oh my
yeah, she was Colonel Klink's love interest on the show because she was a Nazi. Coco Chanel. So James Coco and Coco Chanel got together, and James Coco Chanel Jr. Will be on the show later on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, and as you know, honey, Friday of last week was the last night that we had our last show of Show Business Anecdote Week.
Which was a great week.
It was a great week. If you missed it, go on The Dave Konig Show streaming live on Facebook. It's a Facebook page, and we have all the reruns there. By the way, don't write me notes saying that the audio's out of sync. There's nothing I can do about it. I don't know anything about this. That's Mark Zuckerberg's problem. That's a Facebook issue.
Well, your cousin Zachary says hello. So
Hiya, Zach. Hi, Zach. How are you, pal? Zachary. So no, but people's and it's mirror image. They tell me if you hold up stuff to read, it's mirror image, and that they tell me the sync is out of voice and the voice is out of sync. There's nothing I can do about
We'll
this.
have to get the tech crew.
This is not real television. This is not actual show business. This is me talking into my phone with no pants on. I'm not in a TV studio. If you want to see the voice in sync with the proper lighting, if you want to see Dave Konig presented the way he's supposed to be, I suggest you tune into...
Joe and Sons.
No, don't... No, not Joe and Sons. How about a couple of the shows a couple of jobs I actually got is what
Hunters?
Hunters, the new TV series with Al Pacino, episode 4.
Yeah.
Look for Dave Konig in that.
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, go on that. Season 2, episode 1, episode 10. Okay,
Yeah.
season finale.
Blacklist. James
The Blacklist with James Spader.
Yeah.
A great episode, which they should rerun. That's a network thing. I should get some big residuals for that, but it never seems to happen. But if you want to see clips of me on The Blacklist with James Spader, and Blue Bloods, and The Enemy Within, a great show that was canceled immediately after my appearance on it. So I'll never see a nickel in residuals for that job. Go to Dave Konig, DaveKonig.com. You can see all my TV appearances.
That's right.
So the thing of it is that Friday we did our big Jerry Lewis show.
Yes. Oh my gosh, was it a big show?
It was epic, because I have many Jerry Lewis anecdotes, and I got halfway through. I got the big Jerry Lewis story out of the way, and I was just about to launch into the secondary Jerry Lewis story, and then Facebook cut me off. They shut down the show.
Yeah. What do you think that was?
I think the man is trying to keep you from me, is what I think. No, you laugh, but see, no, Facebook, they know that my brand of comedy is edgy and controversial and dangerous.
Oh.
A lot of people in the comedy business look at me and they think of me as like the new Lenny Bruce,
Yeah.
the new Bill Hicks, if you will. I'm a truth teller.
All right.
My edgy, dangerous comedy, where I tell the truth about things like the uncomfortability of airline travel. Boy, that's something, right? The fun begins when you go to the airport. You got to go through security. What a dignified process. You got to take off your shoes, then you're shuffling around in public barefoot. Then you go through the detector, something goes off, you got to go back, you got to take off your belt. Now you're shuffling around in public barefoot, your pants around your ankles. Last time I got caught in public barefoot with my pants around my ankles, I ended up in rehab. So that's a kind of controversial, edgy humor that they're trying to keep you from.
Wow.
And then you go through security, then you get to meet the man with the rubber gloves, your friendly TSA agent. This pervert is poking and prodding, and your trip to the airport just turned into a cross between an alien abduction and a prostate exam. See, that's the kind of truth telling that the man wants to. The man is shutting me down.
Denise Reese says it's perfect reception.
Then you get on the plane. Then you get to enjoy the 3/4 of an inch of leg room they give you. My last flight, the guy in front of me was sitting so close. 20 minutes into the flight, we were ready to pick out furniture. So that's the kind of edgy, controversial humor that the man is trying to shut me down, man. So Facebook shut me down in the middle of the show last night. So I didn't get to complete my Jerry Lewis anecdote.
You got it complete. Everybody wants to know what happened.
So tonight, on this show, part 2 of our epic Jerry Lewis story. Now, if you missed Friday's show, you should really go watch it on the Facebook page where I store all this stuff. And I told the big anecdote, right, honey?
You did.
Of 1994, and Jerry Lewis is on a big comeback doing Damn Yankees on Broadway.
Right.
And long story short, I got 2 phone calls. I got 2 phone calls from Jerry Lewis. He called me at home twice. And one time, it was a lovely conversation,
That's right.
and we went on for like 20 minutes, and I was thrilling, and I was just on cloud nine. And then the second time, a couple of days later, he punched me right in the stomach. He kicked me in the.
It was crazy.
Oh, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So the point is, there was a good Jerry and a bad Jerry. And a lot of comedians I found out later had this experience with him, where he would befriend comedians. He would start a phone relationship. Because he would pick up the phone. He was like one of these guys who would pick up the phone a lot and call people. He's the biggest star in the world, Jerry Lewis. But he was calling up all these comedians, and he would talk to them and be friendly. And then something would snap at some point. Now, I know guys who had a relationship with him for years, and then it's like this. And then they said the wrong thing, and he's snapping. Now I got that in the space of like 72 hours.
I know, it was so crazy.
It was wacky. It was whiplash. So. That was that story. Now we cut ahead in our story. So again, if you want to hear the part 1 of the Jerry Lewis epic, go on the Facebook, the Dave Konig Show streaming live. That's the Facebook page where I store all the reruns. Go on Friday's show and watch the Jerry Lewis part 1. Catch up, will you? You have homework to do on this show. Now we cut ahead in our story 20 years later. About 20 years later, about 5 years ago. Okay, so now it's about 2015 or 2016 or something. And I'm on the board of governors at the time of a show business club that shall remain nameless.
Okay.
Because why should I get into that?
Yeah.
But figure out which club I'm referring to and then just Google it, and it's all there. You don't need me to tell you. It's all there. So, right? That's all I should say.
Okay.
I shouldn't say any more.
Yeah.
Because apparently the boys have a lot of free time on their hands these days, what with all the sports betting being shut down, and I don't want them showing up at our doorstep and violating my 6-foot social distancing and fitting me for a pair of cement galoshes. So we won't discuss the details.
Enough said.
But at the time, before I knew this, Chuck Montgomery spelling, for God's sakes. Spelling.
No, he's stealth.
Yeah, okay. No, I understand. Wink, 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 wink. So, yeah, wink, wink. So at the time, I'm on the board of governors of this entity.
Yes.
I'm going to call it the entity.
Okay, that's good.
The entity club. And we're having a board meeting. Now, and the president of the club, if you will, I'm not going to use the actual title because that would give it away.
Okay.
But the president of the club, which was kind of an honorary position, was Jerry Lewis.
Right.
Okay? And Jerry Lewis lived in Las Vegas, but he would, whenever he would come to New York, he would, he'd show up for things at the club. Sure. And I never saw him at a board meeting before, because I was on the board for a couple of years. But at this particular board meeting, he was in town, and the word was, oh, Jerry's coming to the board meeting.
So cool.
So they put out the good snacks. We got the good snacks that day, and Jerry Lewis was at the meeting. Now, board meeting, right? And there was some big names there because at the time it was still kind of a legitimate thing. And I'm being very cautious how I phrase this. And Jerry Lewis is at the board meeting, and we were all tickled pink. Come on. And he was quite elderly at the time. It was only a couple of years ago, right before a few years before he died. But he was quite elderly. But he was still, he was Jerry Lewis.
Sure.
And I'm sitting in the room with him. And I'd forgiven him for the incident from 20 years prior, right?
Water under the bridge.
Water under the bridge. Water, don't raise the bridge, lower the river, but the water was under that bridge. See what I did there?
Yeah.
So, this story is way, way out, if you know what I'm saying.
Oh, man.
No, not quite. Okay, so Jerry's at the meeting, I'm at the meeting,
Yeah.
and another famous comedian is at the meeting. I don't want to say who because yeah, the whole thing's sad. But at any rate, this other great famous comedian is at the meeting. Now, Jerry and the other famous comedian are doing a little Jewish geography, okay, about the Catskills. They're comparing notes. Did you know this one? Did you work at that hotel? For you Gentiles in Kenosha, Wisconsin, the Catskills are mountains in upstate New York. And throughout the, say the 40s through the 80s, and maybe even into the very early 90s, there were resorts up there, beautiful, large resorts, and bungalow colonies. You'd go and you'd rent a little bungalow and walk in the paths and, be outdoors in the Catskill Mountains. And for decades and decades and decades, Jewish families from New York would escape the heat of the city in the summer, and they'd go up to the Catskill Mountains and stay in and they'd have lovely experiences and stay at these beautiful hotels. And all the great entertainers of that era performed in these Catskill hotels.
Yeah,
Legendary. And you could, there were so many of these hotels and so many, like the Nevele, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Gail Dennison's favorite. There are so many of these hotels and so many of these bungalow colonies that if you were a comedian, even if you weren't a known comedian, you could do like 20 shows a week and make a lot of dough and have a life. And then all the big stars, Sammy Davis Jr., big people performed in the Catskills. So the Catskills was a big, big deal from the 40s into the 80s,
Yes,
right?
Right.
Now we cut ahead into the 2000s.
Right.
The Catskills are dead. They're dead. They're not there anymore. The mountains are still there, the actual physical mountains. But the hotels are gone because, for a variety of reasons.
Right.
Assimilation.
Yeah.
So Jews didn't feel like they had to only be amongst their own kind, in fear of anti-Semitism on their vacations.
True.
Air conditioning. So all of a sudden, and airline travel. So all of a sudden, you go to Florida, gambling in Atlantic City. Go to Atlantic City. There wasn't a lot of reason anymore to go up to the Catskills.
Right.
So the Catskills died. Okay. So, but there was one joint still left, just lingered, hanging on by a thread, and it was Kutcher's, the Hotel Kutcher's. Big hotel, huge resort on a lake and a big, gigantic, probably a joint that would require, I'm guessing, I don't know, 150 people on staff just to staff the hotel. Easily. So, but it was still open, and I started getting sent up there to perform in the mid 2000s when it was dead. There was no one. So a hotel that took like 150 people to staff maybe had 3 people.
Oh my God.
There were live raccoons in the lobby. The place stunk. The carpet was like, oh my God! You'd walk in and the lobby carpet was like mold. It was like made out of mold. It was just the worst. So, but I started getting sent up there because, and it was the only joint left in the Catskills. Keep that in mind, because at this point, the only clientele they could book into Kutsher's, because it was dead, was Orthodox Jewish sort of charter groups, because they were guaranteed a kosher meal and a kosher experience. So it was you get not Hasidim with the black hats, but the modern Orthodox,
Right.
So they get small groups. The place, like for example, the theater there. I don't know how many seats the theater had. Let's say it had 900 seats, which is not uncommon for these kind of big Catskills hotel theaters. They would get a group of maybe 100 people, 80 people.
Wow.
So they'd send me up there. Now, here's the thing. So they would have. So I did one show in the big room, But it was silly because there was virtually no one there. And then after that, they started sending me up there. I would perform in the lounge, in the deep end. It was called the Deep End Lounge. It was right next to the swimming pool. And so I'm in the Deep End Lounge, and I'd say, so named because apparently my agent went off the deep end and booked me here. And they would send me up there to perform for Orthodox Jewish groups. And there was a rabbit on a Friday night where apparently you could do a show, but you had to get a Shabbos goy, right, a Gentile, to turn on the lights,
Right.
and there was no microphone. You couldn't perform with a microphone because it was explained to me that there was a rabbinical prohibition against using a microphone on the Sabbath because it changes your voice and that becomes something else, and that's work. So you could get a comedian to perform a show, but you couldn't give him a microphone. So they would book me, not because I was great, although I was, but because I was the only comedian on the roster of the agent that could perform without a microphone.
Oh my gosh.
So, because I'm loud. So any other hotel in America, if you don't see the show, you would go up to people who in the audience who had seen the show. You say, how was the comedian? Was he funny? At Kutsher's, they'd say, how was the comedian? Could you hear him? Could you hear him? So I did dozens and dozens of shows in this joint without a microphone. I would have to do an hour without a microphone, ad-libbing. It was quite a workout. So I was, and trivia, here's the trivia.
Okay.
In the entire history of the Catskill Mountains, all the great performers who performed there over 50 years, the trivia question is, who is the last comedian to play the last Jewish resort in the Catskills? Answer. I closed Kutsher's, And then they razed it to the ground. It's not there anymore. It's gone. So I'm in the board meeting with Jerry Lewis and this other famous comedian. They're playing Catskills Jewish Geography. Did you know this one? Did you perform at that hotel? Did you remember this guy? Because Jerry was brought up like practically by the Browns who owned Brown's Hotel. They were like his surrogate parents. And his father was kind of a second-rate Catskill performer. He did an Al Jolson impression. Okay. So at the end of the meeting, I go up to Jerry, and I say, hello, Jerry, and I don't bring up the fact that we had already spoken on the phone 20 years earlier. I say, Jerry, it was a great meeting, and I asked him, I said, do you know who was the last comedian to perform at the last Jewish resort in the Catskills? He said, no. I said, me. I said, I closed Kutsher's. And Kutsher's is reopening in the fall as the Museum of Mold. And Jerry Lewis, the king of comedy, reacts like this. That Museum of Mold! That's a great line! Oh, lady! Flaheiden! Spiten Dival! Mastic Shiley! Oh my God, that's great! That's a funny line. And I said, thank you, Jerry, and I ran away. Because I didn't want to push my luck.
Yeah, it was good, Jerry.
That was good, Jerry. Now, I made Jerry laugh, big time. Now, I figure, because I'm like Charlie Brown with the football with this guy.
Right.
Just like 20 years earlier when he was nice to me on the phone, then he yelled at me on the phone. Now he was nice to me in person.
Yeah.
So I figured, Jerry loves me. We're best friends. 2 weeks later, big event at the club.
Yeah.
Big event at the club. Celebrities. Okay, I get invited to go into the VIP room
Right.
where the other stars are because I'm Dave Konig. I've got a show on Facebook Live.
You close Kutsher's.
And I close Kutsher's. And who's sitting there but Jerry? And there's not a lot of people around. Gilbert Gottfried is there. Gilbert
Right.
Gottfried does a very funny Jerry impression. And but there's not a lot of people around because it's early and they just opened up the room. So Jerry's just sitting there. No one's around. So I go up to him. And, because I just made him laugh.
Right.
And I said, hello, Jerry. How you doing? Oh, hi. And then I said, Jerry, here's the thing. Would you mind if I took a picture for my son? I said, my son, Matthew, at the time he was like 9 years old. I said, he's your biggest fan. He loves, which is true.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, Matthew's over the moon for Jerry Lewis, as every 9-year-old boy in history is. So I said, Jerry, would you mind, please? Would it be? And he said, no pictures, no pictures. He says, I can't have any privacy. Everyone's got a camera, and he's screaming at me. Everyone's got a camera, and they show you no pictures.
Oh man.
And I what do you do? So I just agreed with him. I said, you're right. It's terrible. Everyone's got a camera. They won't leave you alone. It's the worst. And then I ran away.
Oh my God.
So.
You okay?
No, I'm still traumatized by the whole thing. So that's it. I have no great big wrap up for it. It's what more do you need? I've had 4 encounters in my life with Jerry Lewis. One good, one bad, one good, one bad.
Yeah, that's it. Oh my God.
So that's Jerry Lewis. So listen, how much time have we done tonight? Oh,
27 minutes.
this is a 15-minute show. You should have stopped me 12 minutes ago.
No, I didn't want to stop.
I hope you enjoyed the big broadcast today. We're going to do this every night for the duration of the global pandemic. Please tune in tomorrow. Oh, by the way, our special guest, James Coco Chanel Jr., the illegitimate son of actor James Coco and Nazi dress designer Coco Chanel, is apparently in quarantine, so he couldn't make it to the show tonight. But we're going to try and get him back on. Tune in tomorrow when our guest will be Kim Stanley Myron Handelman. Kim Stanley Myron Handelman.
Okay.
That's the illegitimate son of Kim Stanley, the actress who played Stella in the movie Streetcar
Named
Desire, and Stanley Myron Handelman, the obscure 1970s comedian. So that's a joke maybe 3 people will get, but hopefully I've made them happy. So Kim Stanley Myron Handelman, the illegitimate son of Kim Stanley and Stanley Myron Handelman, will be here tomorrow night on the Dave Konig Show on Facebook Live. Until then, good night, God bless. And let's all sing the Dave Konig Show theme song, shall we? Here's the problem with this show is I don't know how to end it. The show ended like 10 minutes ago.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.